Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Winning Mindset, a sports psychology podcast brought to you by me, your host, John Kui. Now, today, we're going to be talking a little bit about choking and the two main theories behind it and sort of how we can use those theories to prevent ourselves from choking in the future. Now, these theories are firstly, distraction theory, and secondly, explicit monitoring theory. So the first theory, distraction theory, is really about how pressure leads to a decrease in working memory resources, resulting in lower cognitive performance. Now, what this means is that when you're under pressure, your ability to remember these complex, different, distinct lists of items goes down. That's your working memory. So this will go down, resulting in a lower cognitive performance. So a lower or decrease in ability to solve like complex math problems. However, for us in sports and our different athletes, we really want low cognitive performance during pressure situations anyways. So basically, under pressure, we want to have high working memory. This way that we can have a large decrease in working memory resources, resulting in a much lower cognitive performance and a clearer mind, sort of moving away from problem solving mode into like just do it mode, if that makes sense. Now, the problem here is that we have a large amount of individual differences when looking at working memory. So some people naturally have really high working memory and others don't. So for people who have a low working memory naturally, when they're under pressure, there's not as much space for that working memory to decrease. This discrepancy is not as high, resulting in less change in their cognitive performance, meaning that they're still sort of halfway in that problem solving mode, halfway in the just do it mode. So there's a lot of this extra thought floating around and sort of prohibiting them from really executing under pressure. On the other hand, individuals with a high working memory, they have a much clearer mind because they have this huge drop in working memory, and this really reduces their cognitive processing, and that really switches the gears. It completes change from problem solving into go mode, and that really helps these athletes perform under pressure. So the key to avoiding choking, if you believe in distraction theory, is really to train your working memory. The higher your working memory is, the bigger that drop is in cognitive performance, and the clearer your mind will be. However, this is kind of hard to do. Working memory is largely genetically determined and not really realistic to try and practice that day in and day out to reduce choking. Luckily, explicit monitoring theory, the other theory to explain choking, is a lot easier to address. And the key idea here is that explicit monitoring splits our information systems into two distinct systems. One of them is sort of explicit, explainable knowledge, stuff like how you do a math problem, memorized biological systems, that sort of thing. The other one is these implicit knowledge systems. This is stuff more like how you ride a bike, how you physically go about the motions of walking. This stuff is harder to explain to someone and is largely subconscious and intuitive. And this is where all of our sports knowledge is. Professional athletes specifically, and especially, their sports practice is all isolated in their muscle memory. Through numerous repetitions, they've moved all of their knowledge from explicit systems to implicit ones. So if you asked a professional athlete how they pass a ball, how they throw a free throw, it's a little bit hard. It's pretty hard for them to explain because this knowledge is all implicitly stored. However, when we're under pressure, it tends to have us over-focus on explicit knowledge systems. And like I just mentioned, all our information for how we execute under sports actions is all implicitly stored. So under pressure, we're focusing on the wrong system, resulting in sort of like drawing a blank. We're not really sure about how to execute on these tasks. So what we need to do under pressure is really reduce the amount of time we have to focus. A study was conducted where they brought novice golfers and expert golfers in, and specifically looking at these expert golfers, when they're under high pressure, low time situations, they perform exponentially better. They perform much better because they don't have as much time to focus on these explicit systems, and they can really rely more so on their implicit knowledge, that implicit muscle memory that they've trained for so long. So what this means for us as athletes is when we're faced in this high pressure situation, when we're walking up to take a free throw or a penalty kick, you really want to try to avoid overthinking about what you're doing. Try to keep your mind on other things away from exactly what you're going to do. Don't focus on how you're going to shoot that free throw. And like Nike says, just do it. Just go through with it and reduce the amount of time you have for overthinking. So what have I really talked about? I've highlighted this distraction theory and explicit monitoring theory, how we can use these to sort of reduce our tendencies to choke. and what we can do as athletes to really prevent ourselves from doing that in the future. Now, if you're interested in this topic further, or you really want to ask me any questions, feel free to email me or contact me through any of my social media linked below, and I would love to talk about this further with you. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Good luck in all your games, guys. Bye-bye.